All right. Good morning, everyone. We'll start with a quick little broad market breakdown, and then we'll go over some top ideas. So again, last week we had the little shakeout of lows with all the kind of the headline news what's going on overseas right now, and we had basically two different outcomes. We had either kind of that H down and that breakdown much lower, or that little shakeout and rip higher, which we obviously saw the latter of that this week. But very hard to initiate positions after, the third day up into that move. So technically the SPY is still in, we can call it like a breakdown stage for now, with this 410 being the current pivot low. So this is going to be the new hard out for the SPY. Before it was 420. Now it's coming down. So we're seeing the overall new lower lows and new lower highs, but still with these vicious kind of snapbacks in between those new pivot lows being formed. So for now, the overall trend is still lower until we can start to base out. And if 410 is going to be the low, then we'll see, maybe 420 hold and we start to base out, and then we get back to that breakout stage, down the line. But for now, we're technically still in that breakdown stage with the short-term bounces. We saw this again, even with the large caps, we were expecting this shakeout down through this 330, which is exactly what we saw. And like we mentioned, we saw that hard reversal off those lows and that shakeout higher, that reversal higher after that shakeout. And again, it's very similar with a lot of these sectors. I'm not going to beat it at horse to the same thing 10 times, but some of the other sectors, financials, it held that pivot low and reversed. So we're still technically in that range. We saw, consumer staples, that shakeout, as if nothing happened. But again, it's making it very difficult to try to buy, consumer staples that are up, 6% off its low from 2 days ago, when the risk reward really just isn't there, when it's just, when it's these extended overall. Same thing with healthcare. We saw that H pattern and we saw it shake out and rip back. And then we have, energy just not caring, still flagging, up in its upper end of its range. And for now, if it eventually loses some steam up here and rolls down under 90, you're in some energy names shorter term, that could be the time to probably take some profits, because it will probably drift back down and come closer to that 200 day. And then telecom is just still very significantly in the breakdown stage, and just one that we just still really want to avoid. And we can, if you're looking even like the SPY, we're still kind of like in this area of that breakdown where we're still getting those bounces, but the trend is still lower. It's still lower lows and lower highs, and we call a spade a spade. So moving on to a couple individual names, this PAYC still starting to base out, continues to base out down here, but again, still a little bit of a wide range. This is, more than 10% down here. So this is not something that I would blindly buy 340 today if it was to go, given that amount of room. Like, I'm not going to risk 10% and expect to make 50% in this name. But if it can tighten up, this could be a spot where you can kind of sneak in and then be prepared to add down the road through this like 380 level, when that bigger base starts to form, and then it starts to break out and inch its way back towards its prior highs. This MNRL is a financial name that, kind of recent IPO that's been setting up through this 23, 24, 25 area. We can see, it broke down, it worked its way back higher, and now it's kind of battling with these key levels of resistance. So one to keep an eye on. Another one is this DLTR, Dollar Tree. Nice little earnings flag near highs. Not perfectly blue sky, because it did, push through this level before, but, through 144 in time looks pretty good. And lastly, the CINF, pretty much the main names here are really, focusing on financials for the most part. Same thing with the CINF up through this, 128, 127 area versus 116. But again, the same thing is, if this was to go today, which I doubt that was going to be the case, but I'm not going to be looking to buy the same third day up. If it can get up there, hold and flag out, and we can find an entry, up through 128 versus 124, that's going to be where I'll be much more inclined to put this on. So those are kind of the few ideas I'm looking at. I know Kusha had a few that we'll go over, and then after that, if Heaven or anyone else wants to jump in, we'll do that as well. Mm-hmm. So the first one Kush is looking at was this SCCO Southern Copper up through 69/70. Definitely looks good in time, but it's going to be the same thing as what I said before with a lot of these names, where it's these, big 2-day moves. It's going to be hard to initiate anything. Even today, it's going to be, I think, very difficult, just given the move that we've seen. But in time through 70, if this can tighten up more, definitely looks good. For now, again, the hard out would be versus at 64. C's, other than the company being the devil, up through 73, definitely see what you're looking at. But this is like a little retest. Probably could wait for it up a little bit more, because you are going to have to give this verse 65 for now. But definitely chart wise, where you want to be focusing on, just hate this company. Let's see, AOSL, little wedge forming. It's going to just need some time to develop and kind of tighten up in that wedge before it's going to probably really go and work its way back to those highs or break down against lows. So just give that one time. VIRT, another financial name. But I really think with this one, you kind of really have to be buying this 32. That was kind of the clear entry, where this is like that secondary entry that has to be perfect to work, when in reality, probably is going to drift a little bit lower, maybe retest this 32 before it really breaks up to 36 with some momentum. And lastly, this SMPL, Simple Foods. This up through 40, I believe, is where he's looking at it, versus 36. But same thing with a lot of names, is going to be just, we need them to tighten up. And with these big 6%, 7% 2-day moves, is going to be hard to want to buy that third day up or fourth day up. Let's see, Abby mentioned NVIDIA, 243. Yeah, I mean, it's just tough because you really have to give it versus
208.
Whatever this low is. 209, 208. So it's just hard to expect this type of action to follow, given this move that it's already had. So it's like 244, if you're buying it versus slow day, you're risking 11 points. Best case, you're going to really get like a move in the short term to here. So it's probably not something that you're going to want to take, because even if it, like today pre-market, it's down a little bit, this can easily pull back into say 220 and be completely fine and still work its way higher. You're not going to want to just give it that initial risk. So probably just hold it off for now until it develops more.
Yeah, I have that in the video on watch as well, but I'm actually I'm more geared towards trying to buy it off of support after I've seen how good it bounced off of that 208 area. I want to actually kind of see it pull back and then buy off support on this one. Cause there's just not much reward here, just with the way that it's forming this massive wedge, even from those highs from 340, you can kind of see the wedge that it may. Yeah, exactly. So, those 2 strong days doesn't really equal, it's only going to go up. So you have to be careful with those things. You don't want to get trapped in a candle like that, only to see it bounce back basically the next week. But you would be out at that point. So I think this will need some tight price action.
Yeah. I think this little area, like this little circle right here, is like a kind of what I would see with a lot of these names, like given this sharp move, that there's like 3 things that can happen. It can either, like today, for example, continue the run up it's been on. It can have kind of like an inside day where everyone kind of holds off, or just as excited everyone was, I'm talking not us, just broadly the market participants, excited as they were on, say, Thursday and Friday, maybe that excitement has come down a little bit, and then it becomes, the fearful side comes back into play, and then it's completely reversing everything you did those past 2 days. So that's where, like, seeing this type of action, big day up, and then it opens higher and completely reverses. I wouldn't expect that to be the case, given some of these moves like that. We're going to completely come back to those lows today or tomorrow, but it can easily reverse or come back and pull in 50% of that relative move, the 2-day move, and still be completely fine to eventually move higher. And that's where, like, you can see even here, it pulls back in, it holds, and it has that much slower, consistent move higher. That's much more sustainable than these really big bullish engulfing candles. It's hard for that continuation to happen for more than 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, Abby's next one is EQIX 720.
And so we can definitely see like this. We have like this breakdown in EQIX, which is right here. It broke down. Now it's starting to base out. It's had 1, 2, 3, 4 attempts here. So it's like now we can, and we're seeing clearly like 660 is holding a support, 720 is holding a resistance. And eventually this break should break, obviously break higher and work its way towards the 200-day and then back towards those highs. So this is one I'd be much more inclined to take than like that NVIDIA, because the NVIDIA is like chart wise is like right here on its daily chart, where it hasn't really based out and developed as much yet, or even you can kind of even say over here, where this has had multiple attempts and it's a much more defined spot to buy up through. So this one definitely much better chart wise than NVIDIA.
Yeah. Ricky's got one. He's looking at ALL 128 in time. He's not looking to take it today.
Yeah, what was it? Ricky had one last week that was really good. Can't think of it, but pretty sure it went. Yeah, but same thing. Broke down and starting to flag out here. Again, 200 is kind of acting as resistance right now, but if it can push through that, we are seeing these higher pivot lows, which is good to see. The low, 115 was the low, pulls in. Now 118 is the low, so you can see buyers are stepping up. So it moves back into 118, it pulls back to 120 and continues to tighten up. So that one as well definitely looks very good through that level in time.
Yeah. And then we got Ronaldo's looking at docs 60-50.
60-15. I mean, probably just buy 60. I don't think you have to wait for the half.
Yeah.
High day. Your high day is 59.80. This high is 59. This day where it got kind of beat up, it opened at 60.25. So I mean, if you were like this through 60, I think you could probably just buy 60, then waiting for the half point. And then just if you are buying 60, just definitely have like a limit sell for some up into 65, because that would be kind of the first spot you would expect some resistance to kind of come into play. And that was like for my X-ray that I messed up. Like my initial goal was to sell into 58, and it's like that was like that. It came back in. Of course, how it traded on Friday was pretty strong, but like that would have been the spot to like take some profits into that prior area and just book some. It's the same with that.
Looks like it's back in your price now. That X-ray. Yeah, gap down.
I mean, if it's back there now, it's like that's again down 6%. Like that's, I don't want to be involved at that point.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if that 54 holds. Then you might be able to find like a tight entry there. But what else we got? Oh yeah, Ricky's the one that he mentioned last week was P-Car, which didn't go and ended up selling off a little bit. But it did make a higher low, which is nice.
Leo, this
Blake,
way.
can you please mute yourself?
Okay.
Yeah, so higher lows on that P-Car. So still on the watch. Actually, I like that one. I had a couple that honestly right now I'm really just building that like swing watch list. So mostly the criteria for that is basing over the past few weeks, trying to see more basing for another month or two maybe, and just kind of getting back over that 50 and 200 MA, because a lot of things are still trading under that level, and that always makes it harder for the stock to really make a strong uptrend. But some things I'm looking at that haven't been mentioned: TSM, Taiwan Semiconductors.
Very choppy.
M is in McDonald's.
TSM.
Yeah. So if you look at like a weekly chart, you'll see that it had a huge shake out of this major level at like 107, 107.50 last week. Shake out of that level. And now just, I want to see this start to kind of consolidate and flag out and look to buy that and then sell into that 145 resistance area. Another one I'm looking at is this crowd. CRWD, just waiting for this one to continue basing. It's really only been going sideways for a month. So maybe another month down here, I think would look really good. Earnings in like 2 weeks as well. So that could be the catalyst to kind of get it pushing the other way. And what else do I have? I have D-Dog, which has had some pretty insane relative strength. It's been chopping around, but overall, it's not really in a massive downtrend compared to a lot of other tech stocks. So I like that it's holding. It's putting in a lot of really nice higher lows. So you really see the buyers are interested in this one. Not sure exactly where I would be buying yet, which is why I'm not buying at all for now. But through that 85 area in time, I think could be a level. Yeah, right through there. But we'll see. We'll see how this one sets up. And then the last one I have is this Ulta, which is also kind of in the same boat where it's just been consolidating pretty much since August of last year, kind of just going sideways for the last 2 quarters, earnings coming up in 10 days, starting to base out here. So I'll look for an opportunity after they report.
Yeah. I actually took this one earlier, I guess it was the beginning of the year, where I was just too early in it. And I was just buying it all, like I was trying to buy it versus at that time, which was like this area. And I got stopped out like the next day. But this area that you're looking at, same thing. Like now this was like, what Abby looked at in videos, like I got in too early, not knowing that support was going to break and it's continuing to base. And now it came up again, and now it's continuing to work its way back towards the level that Heaven's looking at, same that I was. And it's probably going to be much more likely to break at this time that it's now traded for these few months in this range than like when I was expecting it, much sooner in that area.
Yeah. We got another one, VMC 187 from Abby.
VMC.
Yeah.
187. I mean, I think with this, you probably just wait for this like 195. I feel like sometimes you try to like cheat those levels where it's like this has been this has kind of been the spot for a while, except for this like little area of time when it actually broke up through it. But this seems to be like the more significant area that you just wait for that area to buy and avoid kind of getting into the chop before it's really ready. I think that's probably just going to be a little bit easier. But when you do get into this, when it is going to break this, a lot of the crowd that was in this name for a long time and who was selling up here, you're kind of getting rid of a lot of these people that were involved in this name in the past, that when it gets back up through here, I wouldn't even really be thinking 210. I would be thinking to kind of hold it for a move higher, into the 220s or 230s and even higher, because you're not going to have as much of that crowd who's trying to get rid of it and sell those prior highs, because you would imagine they already have been selling for the most part.
She's also looking at MCD, but no game plan. Probably just keeping an eye on it for now.
Okay. Let's see.
And then we got Nicholas is looking at GDDY monthly chart through 85, 86 with some more consolidation. That's a sick base.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get on the month. It just needs to tighten up on the daily. So one to keep on watch, definitely, but it looks really good.
Yeah, it does look really good. Let's see. All right, let's see. Rookie. General question. We've had this volatile market for a while now, where short-term traders have been relatively successful compared to swing trading. With that being said, what are some things you're looking for to start some swings from the broader market? So swing trading, I don't really get.
Well, I would say what we want to see is we want to see swings starting to work. It's like that's really what we want to see first before we can do anything. We don't have to be on the first swing trade to, we don't have to make money on the first swing trade because the market is now offering good swings. Like we just have to see things holding up. You have to look back on when your swing trades were working and look at how the market was acting. And those are the kind of characteristics we want to see. The SPY is moving like $5, $6, $7 a day. When there's volatility like that to the upside and the downside, it's going to be hard to have swings without really, really wide stops or things like that. So just kind of looking back on what you were doing a few months ago when swings were working, that's what you want to look for in the market again.
Yeah, so I misread his question. So I guess he's saying like short term as in like day trading versus swing.
Yeah.
I think you have to just be, for me, I know it's like when I have like, I go based off like my orders that I have entered. So there'll be times when like the market's, really doing well and I might have 5 or 6 or 10 buy stops in where the market's really crappy. Like, you can see here, there's nothing that I have in at the moment. And there's like 14 names that I'm looking at, like keeping a closer eye where when the market's really good, it might be 40 or 50 names. So I kind of gauge it on that of like the amount of orders I'm putting in and what I'm watching. But on the difference of like the shorter term stuff, which that's even like, I know some of you guys kind of learned this, I don't say the hard way, but when some of you guys were kind of trading the SPY in this little run up, and there's like very small pockets of time where something like that, like there might be 2 days out of the year where like trading the SPY would make more sense than an individual security or just holding it. But it's not something you're going to do every single day. And same thing with the shorter term stuff. There will be small pockets of time like these last 2 days that it could have been very advantageous to be day trading or having these very micro short term swings on. But it's easier now seeing what happened than in the moment when the SPY was breaking down or aging at those lows to have the conviction to buy then and then sell it, 4 hours later. So sometimes it's just being aware that you're not going to always be involved in every single fluctuation in the market. And sometimes you're going to miss some of the easy up moves. Sometimes you're going to avoid some of the down moves. Sometimes you'll be involved for more of the down move. And you have to just know that like where you shine the best, that's what you really have to focus on and just wait for those times to show themselves. Like for me, this is not a time that I'm going to start to day trade. I'll just continue to buy stuff on M1. I'll continue to buy into the big picture every week. And on an active standpoint, that account that I trade with will pretty much just sit in cash until I can find a tight risk setup that makes sense for where I do well at. But I'm not going to start to day trade because that's not really where I excel at.
Well said.
All right, guys. Any last ideas we want to go over?
That's it.
All right. I'm going to post this link of this watch list. So when you guys want to go over it on your own, you'll have it as well. I'll post it in the Alpha chat. All right, guys. If you guys have any questions, we'll see you in the chat. And good luck and happy trading.
Thanks, Ben.